At tibay ng loob. Maraming salamat po. Basbasan mo po at gabayan ang aming mahal na inang bayan. Ang aming mga leader na pangalagaan ang aming kinabukasan bilang susunod na henerasyon ng aming mahal na Pilipinas. Gabayan mo po kami sa harap ng pandemya at protektahan mo po kami. Ipakita mo po sa amin ang tamang daan upang malagpasan namin ito. At lahat ng mga darating pang sakuna, kalamidad o anumang hamon. Lahat ng ito ay tinatanggap namin bilang pagsubok lamang upang lalo kaming sumampalataya sa iyo. Naway matamo namin ang ganap na pagkakaisa bilang isang bayan. Turuan mo po kaming maging mapagkumbaba at laging unahin ang aming kapwa bago ang aming mga sarili. Lalo na ang mga kapuspalad, mga dumaraing at ang mga nais na marinig. Pati na rin ang mga kababayan naming naghahatid ng mahalagang serbisyo sa kapwa, maging dito sa Pilipinas o sa ibang bansa.
Patatagin mo po sana kami bilang tao at bilang isang bayan na laging nananalig at naniniwalang hindi mo po kami pababayaan kailanman.
Salamat, Panginoon, sa lahat ng iyong blessing sa amin. Ito po ang aming dasal. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of Congress, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down, please. By far, this is the most beautiful SONA crowd that ever happened here. So many beautiful faces, and you only have to guess when you see the full face of the person. Senate President Vicente Soto III and the honorable members of the Senate, House Speaker Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo, former Presidents Fidel V. Ramos, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Joseph Ejercito Estrada, the Chief Justice Alexander Gismondo, and the Justices of the Supreme Court, Executive Secretary Salvador Medaldia, and the members of the Cabinet, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Archbishop Charles John Brown, and the distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps. My fellow government workers, and of course, to my lovely wife, Hanilet. When I assumed the presidency 5 years ago, dominant in my mind for the dreams and visions of a better life for all Filipinos. I saw them as reachable through the institution of reforms and radical changes in both in the structure of government and the mode of governance. Changes designed responsibility, accountability, and all in consonance with the truth that the public office is a public trust. When I ran for the presidency, I just made fundamental processes, and strangely, you can count them by the fingers of your hand. I made those changes which I thought that was really, there was time and doable. To offer free education, it's there already. The universal health care, nandiyan na po. The fight against illegal drugs, criminality, and corruption, and the development structure, including free irrigation and other big-ticket projects, which I thought I did not have the funds to do it. But perchance, among others, they were done in my term. Today, as I approach my term, my end of my term, I have less visions, but more remembrances. But mine is not to review or to second guess what might have been, but to bear and respond with the urgency of the unforeseen events as they unfold. Even before I took the oath of office, and everyone else, I suppose, knew the gravity of the enormity of the problems that the country was facing. And precisely because of that awareness, I was driven to hasten implementation of changes which I believe the country needed, keeping in mind that the Constitution afforded me only 6 years to make those changes happen. Making a difference within the constitutional time frame is what I was up against. But no one gets by legally without warming to the needle's eye of the constitutional imperatives. That is why I cajoled, I shewed, I pushed, and I tangled with men of wealth and influence who were oblivious to the angst and pleas of the weak and impoverished. And for that, I was pilloried to no end. But I did not succumb to the attacks, and neither did I allow criticisms, however intense, dampen my determination and initiatives, because my purpose was pure and unpolluted. While we were busy instituting reforms, the twin ogres of illegal drugs and corruption laid low for a while, only to resurface as still with us and make no mistake about it, corruption is but another term of stealing people's money, dashing in its wake a nation's goals and aspirations. Due to the brilliant programs and excellent work of our economic managers and the extraordinary cooperation between the executive and legislative branches of government, our economy, with investor confidence, was poised to leapfrog from the company into the company of the world's fastest growing economies until COVID-19 pandemic stalled everything. Be that as it may, allow me this opportunity to extend my personal and the nation's gratitude to all those who selflessly gave their all in the fight against COVID-19, our health workers and other frontliners who risked their own safety. To keep our essential health services and our food supply chain running, boosting the economy, activity, and ensure peace and order in our communities. I would like also to extend my deepest appreciation for the generosity of the private sector who came to the government's aid in fighting COVID-19. I am profoundly thankful for your sustained assistance to fellow Filipino. And amidst the same deleterious effect of the pandemic to our respective industries, let me assure you that the government is committed to assess the private sector to regain the commercial vibrance of the country prior to the pandemic. To our local executives, this pandemic pushed you to step up and deliver responsive assistance. I'm glad to have seen you undertake new and heightened responsibility, working doubly hard to protect your constituents. To the international development partners who extended a helping hand amidst the global health emergency, the Philippines remembers your kindness and goodwill with sincere gratitude. And to all of you who answered the call to protect one another by adhering to our nation's protocols, daghang salamat. But then let me ask, perhaps you and to myself, what exactly is the state of the nation today? In the light of the pandemic which has paralyzed business activities and crippled even the strongest world's economies, So, where do we go from here? Looking back to our accomplishments. In my first SONA, I laid down with utmost commitment and resolve the overall direction of my presidency. A comfortable life for all Filipinos, anchored on a people-centered approach to development and governance. If I remember correctly, my administration, I said, will implement a human approach to development governance in our people's welfare in the areas of health, free education, adequate food and housing, environmental preservation, and respect for the culture. I bore no illusions that steering a nation towards a comfortable life for every Filipino would be easy. Indeed, the past 5 years have truly been challenging and humbling. I stand here before you today bearing no conceit, but if there is one thing that I could be proud of, is that not once did I waver in doing the unpopular, even if it meant upholding the greatest good for the greatest number. Before I took office, our country was beset with communist insurgency scattered across the nation. A separatist movement that sought to divide us on the basis of religion and religion's deficiencies, and the proliferation of illegal drugs and criminality. Our armed forces were ill-equipped to deal with internal and external threats, while the police force had been overwhelmed by criminality and the drug trade problem. This is why I made it a priority to strengthen the institution, boost the morale of the men and women of the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police and other armed services. Again, I thank Congress for working with the Executive Department in enhancing capabilities of the AFP and PNP through our modernization program. In 2018, we raised the salaries of our military and uniformed policemen and personnel to a level commensurate to the critical role they play in upholding national security and maintaining order. I am asking Congress to pass a unified system of separation, retirement, and pension of military and uniformed personnel to maintain government fiscal flexibility and provide adequate benefits and remuneration to our men and women in uniform. This shall apply only to the new entrants of the military and civil. Hindi ho lahat. It cannot be that we have to pay so many, even the salaries of the retired. They get a chunk of the big budget. And if we include the new entrants, the funds available for them, providing free legal assistance to AFP and PNP officers, enlisted personnel. To help them from charges arising from incidents related to the performance of official duty. The continuous upgrading of our defense capability shall ensure that we shall uphold from external and security threats among the new additions. We welcome the country's 2 missile-capable warships to enable us to protect our seas by providing them with necessary equipment, by enhancing their professional capabilities, and looking after the families of the soldiers who would not be longer be in their company. We do not only strengthen our military and police institutions, we also inspire them to serve this nation with the highest degree of loyalty and patriotism. We enable them to carry out their mandate to defeat all enemies of the state, whatever the cost. Indeed, I am proud of the accomplishments of our troops in securing our nation against all threats to our democratic institution. But peace must be realized. Peace and security is not only just a military concern. That is why we deviated from the traditional purely military approach in dealing with matters of national security. With the creation of the National Task Force to End Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC, we have made great strides in addressing the root causes of this conflict by empowering our kababayans who have been used by the communists for many decades. In our continuing effort to build state of safe and conflict-resilient barangays, we have worked towards the sustainable rehabilitation and development of communities where the communists used to operate. Through the NTF-LCAC, we invested in farm-to-market roads, school buildings, water and sanitation, health stations, and livelihood. Alam mo, kasali na tayo dito lahat. Always, every law or every regulation must pass Congress, of course, to the President. But sometimes, you know, in our, in the performance of our duties, we encounter the not so nice of confronting each other. But because of these interventions, more than 70 former 70,000, 17, I'm sorry, former communist rebels have surrendered to government. They have returned to the folds of the law and are happily reintegrating programs or their local eclipse. It's either I am talking too fast or too slow, or the operator of this thing here is drowsy. Maybe because I had so many ad-libs along the way. Marami akong akin lang. Kaya yung nahinto ako when I stop and I'm process something in the gray matter between my ears, hindi humahabol o hindi alam ng operator. Hindi bale, ma'am, mahal pa rin kita. Lalaki ba ito o yung mga babae? Kagabi yung mga babae, sila? Sabihin mo sa kanila, magipagkita ako maya. I will embrace them for their punctuality in operating this, this strange machine that gives you the speech. With the support of our local government units, I am confident that support for the communist movement will continue to erode in the next few months. Unlike the decades-old Moro rebellion in Mindanao, we also bring an end to the armed struggle of the communists once and for all. Sa totoo lang, itong komunista, college pa ako. Hanggang ngayon, ang mga sige pa rin. So, speech mo lang ito, kunwari lang, pero ang totoo, there's a lot of fighting going on in the countryside. But I'd like to credit the police and the military for destroying so many communist fronts. I think they have destroyed more than 15 apparatus or the fronts of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Alam mo, mag-istorya muna tayo sa taxation. I'd like to be frank with you. Everybody in this country are paying taxes to the communists. The Communist Party earns billions, but pass on a little to their fighting men who die for an ideology that is so rotten and corrupt. They themselves are pocketing the money, and their children are studying in Europe and in other places, which I think none of you here can finance such journey. Yan ang masakit dito. They collect taxes, support season in Netherlands, and they do nothing about bad-mouth government, war, dogmas, and everything. Hindi na sila nagpagod. It's about 53 years in the making. And until today, the poor people are dying. The cadres, and most of them belonging to the indigenous tribes of our country, are fighting a losing battle between the communists and the government. They waste lives, they enlist children, and they are proud of it, but they deny it. But when you go to the mountains, such as I and Senator go many times, even during the elections, they were there with so many arms that I think somebody, an idiot here in the Philippines, supplied the firearms. I'd like to ask Congress, especially Senator Bato, kindly dig on, because we have identified the person who imported the AK-47 into this country on the pretext of using it in the security, providing security and guards in all, in business establishments, and for those who can afford their home. This policeman, I think, is still there. He was a colonel, and she is still, walang nangyari. At maraming sundalong namatay dahil sa mga armas na pinasok nila dito sa Pilipinas. So that my orders to you, if you see them walking around, kindly shoot them dead. I would be happy. Anyway, you're already charged in the ICC together with me. So what is the problem of adding another one? Another idiot Filipino who has caused great damage to our country. Yan ho ang totoo dyan. At itong mga pulis, but let me go back in time. When I first said I will fight drugs in 6 months, I thought it was like in Davao. You can either coerce, intimidate, or bribe them, or give them money. I said, lumabas kayo ng Davao, doon kayo magkalat sa Luzon at sa ibang lugar. Huwag dito sa Davao. Naniniwala naman ang mga ulol at we were able to attain a sense of normalcy in the city. Yun ho ang totoo. There are people charged with corruption and even going to prison for just maybe not telling the truth in their assets and liabilities. Nakukulong. Itong mga pulis were doing their thing, their drugs. They were the manufacturers and they were the distributor of drugs. When I became president, I asked De La Rosa, he was the chief of police of my city. I promoted him direct to being PNP chief. 4-star na kaagad automatic. But I told him, and the others, look for the enemies. Look for where they are. And if you find them, destroy the apparatus, destroy all, from the manufacturers to the peddlers, because we are fighting a drug war that was being participated in the business by 9 generals of the PNP. Kaya yan ang sakit sa loob ko. I did not know that I was fighting my own government. Customs and everyone else were facilitating the importation of drugs. And one importation, as you can see it every night on TV, the police now sees about almost $1 billion worth of drugs every day. And if you look at the 888, there are about 1,000 Filipinos arrested every day by the police in connection with drug trafficking. And that is why I go crazy looking at the situation. They are still around. We do not have the laboratories now because nawala na sila. At itong naiwan ngayon are doing the importation. The citizens of another country cook their shabu in their in their tugboat or something, and they threw out the product contained in the plastic bags and with GPS attached to the contraband so that the importers here could find them easily. That is how we are fighting, almost losing a battle against drugs. And now, the Sinaloa gangsters of Mexico and the triad of Laos in that area. They are busy cooking, and we have the Filipinos here with nothing in their mind except to destroy a nation, distributes them. That is what I said. I've been asked the question, and several times I gave the answer. I am a Filipino, and I love my country. I do not want my country in disarray because of drugs. I do not want families break up and become dysfunctional. Yun ang masakit sa akin. If you want to destroy a family, look for a way of the member or a resident of that family home. Biglang mo na droga. Pag nandyan na yung droga at they are hooked, and that is the end. Sometimes families are separated because of drugs, becomes dysfunctional, at yung mga masawa magpunta doon sa abroad, ika nga, to look for jobs. And you know, in the Middle East, I am not attributing it to any particular country, but there are tribes in the Middle East who are employing our Filipina citizens, and they are uniform. Everybody who comes here home asks them how many hours of sleep they have. They said it's only 3 to 4 hours. And the food is hagwas. And the sacrifice, because they send money, thinking all the time that the money was spent usefully, only to realize when she comes home that that family has already dispersed to nowhere. Bakit yan? Because itong mga durugista sa baba, itong peddlers, itong basurero, tawag, it's street lingo, they look for families na may mga nanay, tatay nagtrabaho, ang tatay or nanay nagtatrabaho sa abroad. And to think na iniiwan nila ang mga anak nila kung saan-saan na lang to their neighbors at the tender age of 3 to 4, 5, it breaks your heart. Iiwan lang nila sa kapitbahay kung walang mga relatives. And then, when they come back 5 years, 4 years after, they now realize that their young sons and daughters have gone into prostitution because of drugs. And their boys or their female, the male are nowhere to be found and into the drug business also. Yun ang pinakamasakit. Masakit sa akin na ang Pilipina pumunta doon para magtrabaho because sexual abuse in some tribes in the Middle East have this notion that if you are a slave or you are a paid person working for them, sexual abuse becomes part of the territory. Kaya dyan ako pumuputok at nakakita ko yung mga pamilya na sira. And to think that they labored without sleep, eating, I said, garbage, and not being allowed to go to their own church to pray, well, that is prohibited by them. And we have been, just because of their money that they get, we just look the other way around, but still being, bothered every night and day, what will happen to the next succeeding group of. That is why I have in this speech, I talk about slavery. Pero yan, magprangka ako, I will never deny, and the ICC can record it. Those who destroy my country, I will kill you. And those who destroy the young people of our country, I will kill you. Talagang ngayariin kita because I love my country. You can do it the legal way, but it would take you months and years. And you know what? The statistics I just learned the other night, that plenty of those who are in the middle class have been released from prison despite the fact that they are charged of trafficking which is non-bailable, and most of them are out. babae pati lalaki ang kaso. And that is why I said, I toyed with the idea. I said, if there is still space, with due respect to the Senate President, he is a good man. He can become a good Vice President. He is holy. Ngayon, hindi na siya nahuhuli. Noon, huling-huli siya. But with due respect to Senator Soto, who's also running for the Vice Presidency, he is a capable man, a good man, and a Filipino. Sige ako tingin sa harap na dito para sa likod ko. You know, when you are old, I've been in politics, mayor for 23 years, 5 years as a congressman dito. I work here. And 4 years working as vice mayor for my daughter, Sarah. And the presidency. I have been in politics almost 23 plus 4 plus 4. Almost 40. Kaya hindi ko na malaman ang seat arrangement dito. Hindi ko alam na noon pa ang mga Senate President pati. Butit na lang hindi ko sinali si Velasco. Baka hindi na ako makabalik doon maya. Ibale, diretso na ako uwi. I have said many times before, the bloodshed caused by the separatist movement in Mindanao is all about correcting the historical injustice suffered by the Moro people. Since the period of colonialization, with the help of Congress, we were able to pass the organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Finally fulfilling a promise that was decades in the making. Our victory in Marawi is also a testament to how the Filipinos' patriotism is far stronger than any extremist group. As I have said before many times, there is no room for lawlessness in this country. Rebuilding a better Marawi remains today still not completed. To Task Force Bangon Marawi, we need to race against time, and you have to finish the necessary work for to rehabilitate the war-torn city and bring back its families back home. Now, let me talk again about the drugs. I was just ahead because I was talking something else. Nag-segue ako. While we have made great strides in ending rebellion and insurgency in various parts of the country, we still have a long way in our fight against the proliferation of drugs. This problem has hounded our country for several decades, destroying families and degrading the moral fiber of our society. When I assumed office, I committed to end this problem at the soonest possible time. We launched an unprecedented war against illegal drugs and to destroy their apparatus. That permitted every level and sector of society. We waged war on the manufacturers, the financiers, the suppliers, the peddlers, and the entire syndicates, and more importantly, their protectors in government. We have rescued and reformed drug dependence because of their idiotic sense of decency. While interventions and building facilities not only for the rehabilitation, but also to prepare them to reintegrate into society. Our unyielding campaign led to the surrender of millions of drug dependents and neutralization, capture, and prosecution of thousands of drug personalities. The dismantling of illegal drugs and syndicates and the drug laboratories, the extensive drug communities down to the barangay level, and the cutting of narco politics. You know, allow me a little bit of your time. Wala naman siguro kayong lakad ngayon. Unless na, no, you want to, unless you have this appointment with, I'm sure hindi babae yan. That would be a sexist statement. Kung nagmamadali talaga, halos tumatakbo, babae yan. Kung naglalakad lang na natural, medyo less important yan. Ganon yan. Pero dito wala. I'm not making any sexist. I'm just saying the truth. What is the truth? It's there for all to see. Let me talk about our quest for infrastructure development. 5 years ago, the first thing I made sure was to increase our infrastructure spending to an average of 5% of the country's GDP. This is significantly higher than infrastructure spending of each and past 4 administrations. Thanks to the comprehensive tax reform program that enabled us to fund critical infrastructure projects, today we can see the tangible results all around. MRT-3, with its frequent breakdowns and unloading of passengers mid-rail, was a horror. That was for the daily commuters to endure in the past. Now, MRT-3 no longer unloads passengers but to their destinations. The waiting time between trains had been significantly reduced to 10 trains running at only 30 kilometers per hour before. Now MRT runs 23 trains at 60 kilometers per hour. We have taken away the misery of public commuting. We also pursue the completion of the LRT to East Extension Project by extending Line 2 and adding 2 more stations. We have reduced travel time between Manila and Antipolo from the usual 2 to 3 hours to only just 40 minutes. Thanks to our partnership with the private sector, we are able to open Stage 3 of the Metro Manila Skyway in January this year. This decongested EDSA and other major roads in Metro Manila. On Independence Day last month, we also inaugurated the Kalayaan Bridge, part of the BGC Ortigas Centerlink project, which will reduce the usual 1-hour travel time between the 2 business districts in just 12 minutes. Beyond Metro Manila, we are pursuing several high-impact projects that will be completed within my term and perhaps in the following years. It's a question of money. Just this July, we inspected the newly built passenger terminal building of the Clark International Airport. The new and modern passenger terminal is equipped with the latest state-of-art technology. This can accommodate 8 million passengers, alleviate air traffic congestion at the Naya Airport, as well as serve a major growth driver and gateway to northern and central Luzon. Madali man na magpakpak, ang basa ang mahirap. To help promote equitable development, we also completed several roads leading to important trade corridors. Last year, we completed the construction of the Poro Point Free Port Zone Road in La Union, which improved nakita na ninyo yan? Wala. Sige lang pakpak. You don't even have a picture of what I'm talking about, I'm sure. To improve access to prime spots for investment tourism in the Poro Point area. We also completed the junction Lanao-Pagadian Zamboanga City Road, which will provide easier access to farms and easily transport their agricultural products at low cost and in great quantities to industries and economic zones located in Diplahan, Zamboanga, Sibugay. The Sorsogon City in Bicol, inuna namin yan kasi mahal ko ang mga Bicolano. Pangangatawan ninyo yung pakpak ninyo ha, baka the Sorsogon City Coastal Pass-by Road is targeted completion by the end of 2021, while the Davao City Coastal Road will be completed by 2023. Bakit? Why? Why is Davao last? Kasi sinabi ko sa kanila, unahin ninyo yung buong Pilipinas. During the initial years of my presidency, I told the economic managers and the DPWH, pati si Art Tugade sa transportation, unahin ninyo ang Luzon at ibang areas sa Mindanao. Do not look into the political entrails of this city and other provinces. Sinadya ko talaga na ipanghuli ang Davao. Kaya for the Davaoenos, you must understand that we cannot really unahin natin yung, kasi taga dyan ako eh. Kung hindi ako sigurado taga Davao, tapos na yan, pareho ng iba. Kaya lang sinabi ko, make Davao the last priority. At totoo yan, naglalakad sa gabi. I will not elaborate on anything. You can draw your conclusion. Alam mo, when the father, a mother, or a child naglalakad sa gabi at siya ay kagaya ng iba, even in America, you go into the inner cities of LA and New York, sa Washington, D.C. There's a corner there, they say, do not go there because you'll not come out alive. Ganon, kung hindi maglakad na sila, puro takot na lang ang nasa loob nila, ma-hold up sa jeep. Tapos pati yung taga-ombudsman na buntis, patay pa, pati yung bata sa loob ng tiyan. But just to get the money to buy shabu. Because when the monkey is riding on your back, yung katawan mo hindi mo na that is why you need to higop, sip. Kailangan mo maghigop at kailangan mong pumatay pag wala kang pera. Hindi naman talagang papatay. Maybe not. The mind is not ready for that. But in the struggle, you put up a struggle, if you are the owner of the money, talagang papatayin ka kung hindi mo ibigay. Yan ang ayaw ko. Kaya nung na-mayor ako sa Davao, ganito, mga umalis kayo sa daan. Yung daan, yung public transportation is for public good. Huwag mo silang takutin na magkanto pag-uwi. Nandyan, nagiinom man sa... Yan ang hilig ng Pilipino. Mag-inuman. Hindi mo malaman ang mga nag-uwi na babae, they have to take another route that will be longer because nandyan mga standby. So the streets are unsafe. Hold up, pinapatay. Sabi ko doon sa Davao na lang, wag na lang ako dito sa Maynila. Hindi naman talaga ako nakikialam dito. Pero alam nila, alam ng pulis kung ano ang gusto ko. Magprangkahan tayo. Sabi ko sa pulis, isauli mo yan. The roads, the highways are for law-abiding citizens of this country. Yung mga kriminal, yung mga, the dregs of society, wag ninyong gamitin yung mga daan, hindi para sa inyo yan. And I will see to it that you are not there. Be sure that when I pass by, I do not see you. Because if I see you, I will dance with you. Isauli ko. Kaya ngayon, medyo hindi naman talaga But yung mga sales girl, mga shopping center, panatag na ang loob nila. At least chances of being mugged, murdered, and raped. Yan ang ayaw ko. Pag malayo, nakahigop na, kunin yung pera, hilain doon sa medyo maliit na mga grassy portion, and rape. At papatayin. Yan ang hindi ko matanggap. Just like in Filipino sabi ko, I may be just a little bit crazier than the others. But that is what I am. Ayaw ko yung, lalo na magsyabo ka, tapos magpasyal ka kung ano, wala kang makuhang pera, aakyat ka ng bahay. Just like that bank teller. It was raining so hard, just like the rains that we had experienced. It was pouring almost cuts and nails. Ang lakas talaga ng bagsak ng ulan. She went home to knock the door and pump the door loud. But ang parents nilang matanda niyang parents, hindi nakarinig. So anong ginawa nitong mga sa construction workers? Because diyan nga ako galit sa dugay. Nabibili nila mura. So it's 200, 300. Susuyupin nila. At pag nakasuyop ng droga yan, maghanap ng alkohol yan. Sigurado yan. Pag tama ng alkohol, pati yung ng droga, it shrinks the brain. Yung babae, she was just picked up and brought to the construction site near the house. Tapos ni-rape doon, pinatay, sinunog pa. Oh, yan ang hindi ko talaga maintindihan. I cannot recall yung bata na 3-year-old rapin mo. Ang problema nito, ang nakikita nila, ang patay ng mga kriminal. Well, how about the victims on the other side? Bakit hindi ninyo tignan and see what these criminals have done to our children, to our wives and daughters? May listahan kayo. Ang listahan ninyo doon sa namatay, hindi ba kayo maligaya niya, wala ng kriminal? Pero pag tinry mo dito, ilan ang patay na inosente, pati pulis ko at sundalo na mamatay dyan. Baka akala ninyo kriminal lang. So that is my lamentations, and I just want you to hear. In my 5 years in office, we made real change in governance to the reforms we pursued. However, for this governance, must be sustained and broadened. We need to make, I'm just getting my ear. Naghihingal ako. Baka dito ako mamatay pagka-presidente. Iba na ang pitik ng ko ngayon. Ng kasing-kasing ko. Kasing-kasing is puso. To make every public servant responsive to the needs of the people and enjoin every Filipino to assert the right to demand malasakit from their leaders until everyone lives with dignity, well-fed, educated, healthy, secure, disciplined, and empowered to contribute to the national development. I will not forever be president. But ang kulang sa Pilipino is assertiveness. Pag mayroon kayong transaction at hingian kayo, ang sabi ko sa inyo, ito ang payo ko. Murahin mo, sabihin mo, nagtatrabaho kayo at kami dito. We are following papers and you are sitting on your ass on it. Kaya dito sabi ko, makinig kayo lahat ng Pilipino, total last zone ako ito. Pag may mag-follow up kayo, permit, clearance, at maghingi ng pera, murahin ninyo. Sabihin ninyo, yan, sabi ni Duterte, sampaling ko kayo kasi ako nagbabayad ng buwis. Bakit ginaganito ninyo? Anto di mga Pilipino, hindi naman lahat. Tayong magtatrabaho sa gobyerno. You know, I mean, it takes you 1 month to process a paper. Takes you, patos pabalik-balik yung tao. Pag ang tao bumabalik, 2, 1, 3, then there is corruption there. Murahin mo at kung maari, pahiramin kita ng pangkulam para kulamin mo. Ganun talaga. I'm just warning everybody. There's still 1 year to go. In about 3 days, lagyan mo ng papel, bumalik ka dito at this hour on Thursday. At pag gano'n, pakita mo yung papel, hanapin yung papel, ibigay. Yan ang gamitin ninyo. For all the local governments also. In my cabinet, it's 30 days. Walang extension. All. Sabi ko, reduce the signing authority from 6, 7 to only 1 or 2. Hindi naman kailangan hindi kailangan nagpirma lahat ng empleyado dyan. 1 or 2, yung iba mag-process lang. But if you cannot process it also in so many days, in Davao, if it is a clearance which is long overdue, hindi mo na pwedeng ibigay doon sa tao. Ibigay mo sa akin at tanungin kita, bakit inabot ka ng ganitong? There's no other conclusion. Corruption. Kagaya, what is true in Davao is true for the entire Philippines. Mabutit na rin niya nakapagsalita ako ng freely with you. Total, last ko naman itong suna. Mabuti ang malaman ng tao na ganon ang ginagawa nila. It's not there. Hindi man nila nilagay ang mga ganon na wala mang mura dyan. Be careful. We need to fight and subdue narrow vested interests and ensure that our gains will benefit to the greater number of Filipinos, especially those who have the least in life. We have laid down the groundwork and are continuing to push for landmark reforms and key accomplishments to the last day of my term. I have full confidence that the Filipino spirit, pati ako nagmamadali na, naiihi na kanina pa eh. It's a natural human biology, so what's the big deal? Bakit kayo magpakpak kung napaihi na ako? Sa bagay, alam ko rin, nahiya kayo magtindig. Puno ang pila nito pagdating sa CR maya. I have full confidence that the Filipino spirit will persevere and triumph together. And together, let us rise as a nation. Thank you.
Okay. Ito ba? Ito.
Natunghayan po natin ang huling State of the Nation address ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at kayo pa rin po ay nakatutok sa special coverage na po sa inyo ng SMNI. Ako po si Hannah Jane Sancho at kasama po na
really optimistic na ay grabe, kailangan talaga grabe yung infrastructure backlog natin. Pero on the flip side, sabi ko, double-edged sword yan. Pag mali ang implementation yan, yari kayo sa susunod na administrasyon, hahabulin kayo ng corruption cases left and right. Ganun talaga mangyayari dyan. And thankfully, in fairness, ang dami na natapos at saka ang dami na nasa pipeline. I mean, na under construction yun. Halimbawa lang, yung natapos na Skyway stage 3 ba tawag doon? Yung from Buendia, Buendia to
Stage 3, tama.
Yes.
Skyway 3.
To NLEX. Napakalaking bagay nun, Admar. Kasi dati, from Makati to NLEX, matutupad mo na lahat ng pangarap mo sa buhay. Hindi ka pa dumarating sa Balintawak. Ganun ang kalala ang traffic doon. Pero ngayon, 10 to 20 minutes, game na. Totoo naman guys na medyo mahal yung toll rates. Kaya lang, wala naman libre sa buhay.
Tama.
Tiis-tiis lang po muna. Pero at least, meron tayong option. Kung gusto nyo magtipid, doon kayo sa EDSA. Kung gusto nyo ng mas mabilis, doon kayo sa taas. Ganun lang naman kasimple. Hindi yung pilit na pilit tayo na kahit anong mangyari, kailangan natin dumaan sa EDSA. Tapos, lalo na Admar, di ba? Ang SMNI po guys ay nasa Guadalupe. Alam mo naman Admar kung ano mang pakikibaka ng mga tao pagdating sa traffic dyan sa Guadalupe, di ba?
Si
Can I
Sas
say
naman.
something?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yung sinabi kasi well, to begin with, we elect president every 6 years. You know, inherent kasi to sa presidential system na katulad sa atin. Every 6 year, magpapalit ka talaga ng administrasyon. Di ba ang isa nga sa mga isinusulong ni PRRD, ni President Duterte, nung siya ay tumakbo, mag-transition tayo into a parliament system. Di ba? Kaso nga hindi nga siya naging matagumpay dahil ang daming opposition dito sa pag-abolish ng current presidential system. Kasi syempre, mawawala ang Senado. Di ba? Magiging mas streamline yung government. Ngayon, kung parliamentary system ka, hindi kasi mangyayari itong every 6 year, mag-iiba ka ng gobyerno unless palpak yung gobyerno mo. 'Di ba? Ngayon, kung maganda naman yung gobyerno, marire-elect ng marire-elect the same political party katulad dito sa Europe. For example, in Germany, si Merkel, ano pa ito? 2000, it's like mid-2000 pa ito si Angela Merkel. And then ngayon nga lang siya nag-resign ng political party. Pag napagod na lang si Angela Merkel.
Siyang sumuko.
Oo. Pero makikita mo na may policy continuity. Pero hindi ito dahil sa inherent talaga ito sa sistema natin. Ngayon kung itinuloy lang natin itong kagustuhan ni PRD, which was actually advocated by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo during her term, hindi natin ito mararanasan na every 6 years mag-iiba-iba kung, di ba, ang sabi nga ni TP, dahil usually yung tumatakbo, antay sila doon sa former administration. Ngayon kung manalo sila, kailangan nilang i-fulfill yung promise nila na, get the heads of the former administration, cabinet members, etc. Just to pander to the electorate. Pero kasi kung parliamentary system ito, mas mabilis na maalis kung sinong dapat maalis. Incompetence will not be rewarded kasi nga it's just like inherent in the system. And of course, policy continuity, 'di ba? So yung sinasabi ni dating Defense Secretary Gilbert Tidoro, I think kulang 'yon 'di ba? Na nakakalament, pero ano ba yung root cause kung bakit tayo every 6 years nag-iiba yung bansa? It's because of the system that we have.
So, tingin nyo kung magkakaroon pa ulit ng re-election yung para sa president, mabago yung saligang batas, maganda ang magiging epekto nito? Kasi alam naman natin kung ano yung history, di ba? Kung bakit pinaiklian yung termino ng Pangulo. Pero nakikita din natin yung advantage pag tuloy-tuloy. Di ba? Kasi parang nabibitin tayo. Halimbawa, ngayon, papatapos na yung tapos meron pang pandemya, marami pang mga, marami pang mga nais natin na matapos, marami pang under construction, tuloy-tuloy. Pero ito yung parang pumipigil. Kaya yung iba, nagre-resort na lang na panawagan na, ito, siguro, itong anak ni Pangulong Duterte, pwede siguro itong makapagpatuloy kasi parang gagaya din ng kanyang tatay yung sa political will din. TP.
I think si Sasa mas maganda sa maganda.
Ayan, sige.
Go, Sas.
Ano talaga? Call a friend? Call a friend, tekaga.
50-50.
Hindi kasi yung kita mo ngayon, iba, bakit ang mga malalakas ngayon na presidential aspirants ay yung mga kaalyado ng administrasyon? Diba? Bakit number 1 si Sara Duterte tapos ang sumusunod sa kanya is si Bongbong? Diba? Because ito yung mga nakikita ng mga tao na magpapatuloy ng magandang nasimulan. iba ng gobyerno. Ito kasing term limits kasi this was put up because of fear. Wala naman itong hindi naman ito pinag-isipang mabuti, di ba? Hindi naman tinake in consideration dito yung efficiency. It's more about preventing something that happened in the past. Na in their perception of what happened in the past, di ba? Pero kasi kung ipinagpatuloy ito na tinanggal yung term limits, wala naman kasi problema sa term limits eh. Ang problema
Kahit ano pang sabihin ng iba, basta magawa niya ng paraan para sa mga anak niya. Katulad ng sinite mong example, di ba, TP? Kahit pa magmukhang mali or makriticize pa more si Pangulong Duterte, pero gagawa siya ng paraan. And exactly, mas naunang dumating yung mga donations, di ba? Kaysa dun sa na-procure natin.
And I really appreciate,
Go.
and I really appreciate yung sinabi niya about the NTFL CAC na sinabi niya, through the NTFL CAC, we invested in farm-to-market roads, school buildings, water and sanitation areas, health stations and livelihood. Kasi nga, alam mo, ang isa sa mga tirada ng mga sabihin na natin makapula ng mga grupo, lalo na sa Kongreso, ginagamit daw lang ang NTFL CAC para mag-red tag lang daw. Na I think katangahan. Sorry. Kasi 1960s, 19 kopong pa po ang NPA, tapos nandiyan pa, kailangan tapusin niya. Tapos eto na. Isa sa mga makakaliwang grupo na yun, nagsabi na dapat we should address the root of rebellion. Ayan na. Farm to market road, eskwelahan, tubig, health center, trabaho. Ano ba gusto nila? Kumain siya ng buhay naman ako, live TV? Ano ba kulang?
Ang isa sa mga hinighlight ni President Duterte sa kanyang SONA speech, yung dalawang bills na, they were almost impossible to pass. Yung universal healthcare law and yung free education, tertiary level. So, itong dalawa pa lang na ito, panalo ka na eh.
Yes.
Alam mo yun? Especially from middle class up to the lower class, alam naman natin na ang education at healthcare ay ang dalawang pinakamalaking expenses ng mga Pilipino.
Yes, Sas.
Tapos pinasapay.
Sorry to cut you, Sas, ha? Pero kasama na po natin and live na mga kasama natin dito sa ating talakayan. Walang iba kundi ang Executive Pastor ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ and Chairman ng Sunshine Media Network International. Walang iba kundi si Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy. Good evening, Pastor. Good evening, Pastor. Kasama po natin si TP and Sas po. Okay. Medyo hindi natin naririnig sa Pastor. Okay, habang inaayos natin yung audio ni Pastor, of course, may mga hinanda kaming katanungan para kay Pastor. And of course, itatanong natin, TP Sas, kung ano yung anong reaction ni Pastor, sa naging huling talumpati ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. And yes, TP?
I can actually hear him fine. Pastor,
I can hear him fine as well.
Opo, Pastor, ano po yung masasabi nyo kay Pangulong, sa zona ni Pangulong Duterte? Medyo mahaba po, no?
Yung speech niya. So,
Ayun.
ang ganda.
Sa palagay niyo po, Pastor, kasi 'di ba isa sa mga pinakamalalaking problema ng Mindanao nadededma sila ng national government for the longest time. Pinapapabayaan sila ng national government. Ngayon, totoo naman, sabi ni Pangulong Duterte, may instruction siya, ihuli niyo ni Davao. Unahin niyo muna yung rest of the country kasi ayaw naman nilang masabi na favoritism. Pero sa inyo pong palagay, dahil po nakabase naman po kayo sa Davao City, paano po ba tinrato ng Pangulong Duterte bilang presidente ang Kalakahang Mindanao po?
Naintindihan namin yung ibig sabihin ng ating Pangulo kasi marami naman yung mga kuminsan namumuno, inuuna nila yung kanila. At ang reaksyon ng taong bayan dyan is kasi siyang nasa lugar, kasi siyang ganyan. Kaya unahin niya yung sa kanya. Kay Pangulo, makikita mo dyan na talagang non-partisan siya. Na kahit doon sa mga kumakalaban sa kanya sa politika, sa partisan politics, mas sinuna niya yung infrastructure sa kanila. At saka, ang mga taga Mindanao, lalo na kaming mga taga Davao, naintindihan namin ang puso ng Pangulo sa ganon. So, we give him the leeway of what he has to do to decide so that the Filipino people makita nila na wala siyang pinipiling tao at saka hindi niya inuuna yung sariling, kung sabihin mo, sariling interest niya. Although sinabi niya na at the end, last na kami dito, ganun pa rin kasi marami namang development din nangyayari ngayon dito. Tulad ng train system ng Mindanao, tulad nitong tulay sa Davao Samal, at iba pang mga malalaking infrastructure. Hindi naman talaga pinag-iwanan.
Opo nga eh. Pero ito po nakakaalo na sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte na mahal niya po ang Bicol.
Yes.
Tumaas ang kili ng lahat. Ano po ba reaction nito, Pastor?
Yun nga, napapakita niya riyan na pagdating sa sa benefits to all Filipinos, wala siyang kinikilalang partisan na politics itong lugar na to. Bicol, nandito yung Vice President na paraging kumakalaban sa kanya. He is not like that eh. Kaya napapamahal talaga ang Pilipino sa kanya kasi wala siyang pili basta Pilipino. Kaya hindi siya pro-partisan politics. Siya ay talagang pro-Pilipino. Makikita mo talaga yung puso niya.
Pastor,
Mahal niya talagang Pilipino.
Pastor, ang
Yes,
tatanong ko sa inyo, kasi sinabi ni President Duterte na walang presidente ang makakaresolba ng korupsyon. Para daw ma-resolve ang korupsyon, ay kailangan mong i-overhaul ang government, kailangan mong mag-declare ng martial law at tanggalin lahat ng mga tao dyan at let the new generation take the lead. Ano po masasabi niyo dyan sa sinabi ni PR?
Kamusta ba, Sas? Okay ka na? Kamusta yung question mo? Isa na ano ako eh. Akala ko tapos ka na eh. Sorry Sorry to interrupt you. Totoo yung sinabi niya kasi ang ating pamahalaan, it is a democratic system of governance where there is such kind of autonomy in every department. Pag binigyan mo ng budget, sila nang bahala doon. And then, meron naman tayong mga COA, meron ganon. Pero, they really will find a way in which corruption can set in their own way na hindi mo talaga makokontrol. Maliban kung pareha tayo sa Dubai, tulad ito'y paghahari ng isang hari na kontrolado niya lahat. Meron siyang parliament, meron silang gobyernong ganon, pero at least yung hari, kontrolado niya lahat ng sistema, lalo na sa financial. Nakikita nilang lahat yon. In our system, kasi ito nga, democratic tayo, and then pag binigay mo yung budget sa isang department, sila nang bahala doon. It's just that you have to really have to trust them na kung anong gagawin nila. Manalangin ka na lang na they will all be honest. Kaya hindi talaga yung sinabi niya totoo yun. Pero maybe if our lawmakers can craft laws that can at least pinpoint the inadequacies of the bureaucracy sa ganitong bagay, baka marahil mahati pa natin o matreport pa natin ang korupsyon na mawala. It's like Hong Kong, kung pag-aaralan mo, meron silang agency dyan na ginawa because Hong Kong is one of the most corrupt government before. And then nung talagang ginawa nila yung law na yon, wala talagang pinatatawad, at least yung corruption nawala. Beginning with the police, na tumatanggap ng mga suhol o sa mga departments nila, yun ang dapat pag-aralan siguro natin para ma-curb, at least mahati man o ma-report man na mawala yung corruption. It will be already good for the government and for the Philippines.
Alright. Pastor, ano po, mention po si Pangulong Duterte na tukol po sa NTF-ELCAC na ina-address daw, nag-umpisa na raw po ang gobyerno na i-address ang root causes po ng conflict at hindi lang purely military yung approach. So far daw po, 17,000 na former communist rebels ang surrender na sa government. Noon po nakatira pa po ako sa Davao, ang balita ko, paglagpas mo ng Toril, medyo may mga tulisan na dyan, di po ba? Noon po bang, simula po ba ng pag-upo ni Pangulong Duterte, nag-improve po ba yung sitwasyon po dyan sa Mindanao po in general, or at least po sa Davao region?
Mabuti, Tipin, na mention mo yan kasi nakita namin kahit sa sariling barangay namin which is communist infested, even during the time of mayor as mayor of Davao City hanggang ngayon naging presidente siya, napakalaki ng tulong sa bawat barangay noong ginagawa ng NTF-ELCAC na binibigyan ng at least like 20 million para sa isang barangay where they could have this farm to market roads, may irrigation sila, meron silang sistema sa farming na natutulong ng pamahalaan. It is really bullseye ang aking nakikita na ginawa ng ating Pangulo ang paraan na yan na talagang naasikaso ang problema in the barangay level. Di ba naririnig natin na mula pa ang kahit ng mga military friends ko na palaging nakakasalamuha ko, ang problema nila is the poverty of the grassroots, of the barangays, of the rural areas na hindi na-address. Ako nakikita ko rin yun kasi yung isang district namin dito, mayroong barangay dyan sa Marilog na tinatawag, maganda masyado yung mga gulay. Pero hindi nila madala sa bayan kasi walang daan eh. Yung kung kabayo ang sasakyan mo, napipilay ng kabayo dahil sa putik hanggang tuhod. So, paano gagawin mo pag pumasok doon yung mga insurgents? Babagsak sila sa kamay nila. Pero ngayon, kahit sa kalibliban, may ginagawa ng mga daan itong tulong na ito ng ating pamahalaan. Kaya yung yung mga insurgents, palayo ng palayo. Kasi ayaw nila yung may daan eh. Nakikita sila doon. At saka tulad, for example, in our place in Kitbog, dito sa may Malungon, may daang ginawa na ngayon na tinutulungan namin ng pamahalaan. Hindi na kabayong sinasakyan nila, motor na. O kaya mga truck na nila. Kaya ang produkto nila na ihatid sa bayan na walang middleman. Yun ang epekto ng ginagawa ng ating Pangulo. Napakalaki talaga. It's good that you mentioned that because it's really one of the heart of the problem that is being addressed by the NTF-ELCAC system na ginawa ng Pangulo. Napakaganda talaga.
Alright. Sas, may tanong ka ba para kay Pastor?
Naman.
Okay, last na lang po, sir. On a scale po of 1 to 10, how would you rate this administration? May mga bagay po ba na they could have done better? Alam niyo po, the whole 9 yards. Ayan, Pastor.
In a scale of 1 to 10?
Opo.
11. Kasi akala mo, ang binabantayan ko sa Pangulo noong kampanya, yung mga promises niya, like itong drug problem, itong korupsyon, itong kriminalidad. Kasi nung bago siya nagkampanya siya, nakikita niya, iyak talaga yung tao dahil sa peace and order eh. Laganap na yung drugs. Kung minsan nagmomotor kami to Cagayan de Oro, Tapos from Davao to Cagayan de Oro, nag-biking kami. Makita namin pagdating namin sa Cagayan, yung shabu pinagbibili para lang parang betsin eh.
Grabe, no?
Kanto-kanto lang eh. And we saw that. We talked to each other when we were there, when he was mayor. Sabi ko, grabe na to mayor, hindi na to pwede. Pati bata, nagdadala, tapos pinagbibili ng kanto-kanto lang, nakikita mo, wala nang habas. So, noong nagkampanya siya, that is one of his main promises na ginawa. At in-address niya yon in spite, sinabi niya nga, in spite of the criticism, the false accusations, at saka he laid down his life for it. At nakita naman natin how it was curbed in many cities of the Philippines na pwede ka nang lumakad na hindi na namumulest na tulad ng mga panahon na yon, na hindi ka makapunta sa maliblib na daan, siguradong may mangyayari sa iyo. So ganun ang nangyari sa criminality, pati naman doon sa corruption sa gobyerno. Hindi naman niya pinabayaan. Tingnan mo yung sinabi niya kanina na murahin ninyo pagka hiningan kayo at saka pinatagal. With our cooperation, timid kasi masyado ang Pilipino eh. Pagka nasa gobyerno, nakaupo ng clerk sa lamesa, yung taong bayan parang alangan ng lumalapit. Pero binigyan niya tayo ng tapang para manindigan para sa ating rights na siya mismo ang umuutos. And we found that out because sa atin ding grupo dito sa Kingdom, kuminsan meron yung tayong kino-confirm, pinahihirapan tayo. Pag sinabi mong, okay, sasabihin namin kay Presidente ito, through Bongo, kinabukasan meron ng permit eh. Yun ang kabutihan.
Ayun. Hana, salamat po, Pastor.
Pastor, kasi malapit na po yung eleksyon at ibig sabihin, may chance na po na mapalitan po si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Pero given na nakita po natin yung mga accomplishments po ni Pangulong Duterte, mukhang mahihirapan po yung susunod na Pangulo na higitan o pantayan ang mga nagawa ng Pangulo. Kayo po, Pastor, ano po ang nakikita niyong qualification ng dapat na pumalit kay Pangulong Duterte at dapat tingnan ng mga boboto sa nalalapit na halalan po?
Siguro sa tingin ko may nag-iisang President Rodrigo Duterte lang na kalidad sa kanyang courage, sa kanyang tapang, sa kanyang political will, at saka hindi siya natatakot sa anumang bagay basta't ang ginagawa niya ay para sa kabutihan ng taong bayan na kanyang pinaglilingkuran. Kahit nung nasa Davao siya, ganun siya. Kaya siguro, kinasihan ng amang makapangyarihan na ilagay siya bilang presidente. Yung susunod na presidente, medyo mahihirapan silang to take on a template like that. Sana meron pang isang lilitaw na medyo papantay man lang at magagawa man lang yung ginagawa niya. Kasi ang mahirap diyan, yung nakikita ko, kahit ano ka popular, kahit gaano ka magandang leader, tumitiklop eh. Tumitiklop. Tapos ang interest ng bansa napapabayaan. Tumitiklop. Tulad, for example, harapan mo yung oligarchy. O pagkatapos, operan ka ng ganon. O kundi lumitaw ng ating presidente, di natin nakita na one-sided yung mga contract ng tubig, yung sinabi niya sa yung Manila Water, o kung ano pa yung mga concessions diyan. Very one-sided against us. Ilan ang administrasyon ang dumaan, hindi nakita yon. May senador pang siyang nagtatanggol doon sa contract na yon na inimical to the interest of the Filipino. So, kung walang ganun na kalasing presidente, na hindi bumabagsak sa halimbawa sa love of money o sabi niya, kung trabaho ang hinahanap mo, itong trabaho na to, maliit ang sweldo, huwag kang pumunta dito. Pero kung corrupt ka, overnight, magiging bilyonaryo ka. Oh, yun ang pinakamahirap na harapin because when you are on top of the line, like the president, the bigger the temptation. Oh, kasi nasa kamay mo ang lahat ng fate ng Pilipino. Kaya ayaw ko talaga yung mga tulad ng mga binabanatan ko diyan na mga gustong kumandidato. Oh. Ayoko talaga. Alam ko titiklop ang mga yan. Alam ko pagbibili tayo niyan. O kaya nga sinabi ko, kung maari lang sana baguhin niyo yung konstitusyon ninyo, gawin natin President for life ang ating Pangulo. Tulad sa ginawa doon sa China o kaya sa Russia until 2038. President Duterte from the beginning as a mayor here, wala talagang mapipinpoint na corrupt. Basta pera ng gobyerno, respected niyang lahat yan. Oh. Hanggang ngayon, tingnan mo, ang sasakay niya, pick up lang. Kasi gusto niya maging huwaran doon sa mga public officials. Itong mga klase ngayon nakikita ko, hindi naman sa pagmamaliit, hindi ako magme-mention ng sino mang pangalan. Kaya kinikilatis ko yung may mga ambisyon na tumakbo nilang Pangulo. Kinikilatis ko talaga yung mga kalidad nila, kung ano ba talaga yung saloobin nila. Pero nakikita ko, manalangin na lang tayo after ng term ng Pangulong Duterte. Manalangin na lang tayo na talagang biyayaan na naman tayo ng Ama ng katulad niya. Because we've been praying before, 18 years before 2016, mayor pa siya, there was a revelation given to me that he became president. So who is that? Sino yung umuugit na gano'n? Ang Panginoon Diyos ang akala kong nagbibigay ng biyaya sa atin na biniyayaan tayo magkaroon ng isang Pangulong tulad niya. Ngayon, manalangin na naman tayo ng husto na tayong mga Pilipino may enlighten na sana sa lahat ng mga kumakandidatong naririyan, hindi tayo malilinlang sa kanilang mga aura sa labas o kung ano. Tingnan natin ang saloobin, kaloob-looban nila na talagang Pilipino sila and they will die for their country and for the Filipino and the interest of the nation. I hope that we can find a president like that next to him.
Opo. Well, suriin na lang natin, Pastor, pagkatapos mag-training. Busy pa po, busy pa. Nagtitraining pa po.
On the job, OJT pa, on the job training.
Mas may importante para po kasi sa laban. Sa laban ng korupsyon.
Ay naku, pagpapraktisan tayo, kung sasakay ka ng aeroplano, tanongin mo yung piloto, sasabihin sa'yo, nagtitraining pa ako tapos 110 tayo nakasakay, yung piloto natin magtitraining pa, mag-OJT pa. Isa-isa tayong maglalabasan dyan.
Hindi, puso lang kasi talaga, Pastor. Puso lang.
Puso lang naman po daw kailangan.
Dapat may puso. Pero kung puso lang, wala dito, patay tayo dyan.
Pastor, saging na lang.
Ang leadership kasi is more on the steel of the mind than the emotion of the heart. The emotion of the heart just follows. But first of all, it must be the steel of the mind. Tingnan mo si Churchill nung nasa kasagsagan na parang matatalo na sila ng Germany. O kung naniwala pa siya doon sa mga associate niyang they wanted a negotiated peace with Hitler. Inisip-isip niya, kung negotiated peace, captured din tayo, pero under tayo sa kanila, slave tayo. One way or another, we will all also die. So sabi niya, we will die with our boots on, with our honor on. So let us push on. Let us fight in the streets, in the mountains, in the hills, until the last man. Ganun ang leader.
One thing
May
din,
ano siya.
yes po. Pastor, may isa din pong concern, lalo na yung mga kapulisan natin, even the Armed Forces of the Philippines, yung susunod na Pangulo is dapat the same din yung concern in terms dun sa insurgency, sa pag-end ng communist insurgency, Pastor, and even sa drug war po, Pastor, na baka po yung susunod na Pangulo, baka pabayaan po ang kampanya, how many years na ginawang kampanya ng administrasyon laban sa illegal na droga. And yet, yes, Pastor.
Yun ang inaalala ko rin na Hana, na iniisip ko. Yun nga, yung titiklop, halimbawa, iharapin mo itong CPP and PNDF na to na may ideology na nagpapakamatay din sila sa kanilang ideology na hindi tama. Pagkatapos ikaw lulugo-lugo ka lang, ganon ka lang, titiklop ka talaga sa kanila kung hindi talaga matapang ang resolution mo. Yun ang inaalala ko rin eh. Pero akala mo, kung nagkaroon tayo ng presidenteng makikipagkaibigan na naman kay Joe Masison o kaya sa mga CPP and PNDF, tapos titiklop na naman sila, tatayo siguro ako kasi gusto ko na talaga matapos itong itong problemang ito kasi we in the mountains are the ones that are bearing the brunt of the terrorism of these people. So for 52 years ginaganon tayo. Kahit hindi ako politiko, hindi ako matatakot magsasabi dito na alimbawa nagkaroon tayo ng mga leader na ganyan, talagang sasawatain ko sila dito. Hindi pwedeng hindi pagpatuloy yan hanggang sa mawala na talaga dito sa balat ng lupa ang ideology yan na magkaroon na tayo ng peace and order kahit sa kabundukan, lalo na.
Yes.
Maganda naman yung offer ng ating gobyerno ngayon. Inaalagaan naman yung mga surrenderists. Binibigyan ng kabuhayan, binibili yung kanilang mga armas na initial surrender, at binibigyan silang assimilation into the society. Ginagawang komportable yung buhay nila. Yun ang kabutihan doon.
Kasi Pastor, yun yan, kanina po Pastor kasama natin si General Parlade, nasisihan sila sa ginagawa ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte that to think, Pastor, 52 years na yung communist insurgency, but ngayon lang sa panahon ni President Duterte na na-designate sila as terrorists. Isipin mo, Pastor, for 5 decades, nauna pa yung ibang bansa na dineklara silang terorista. Nauna pa ang US, ang New Zealand. So, yun yung sinasabi ng mga Armed Forces of the Philippines na bakit yung mga previous president hindi nagawa at si Pangulo lang po ang nakagawa noon.
Wala nga silang backbone eh. Wala nga silang tapang. Wala nga silang malasakit. Ang kanila, they are just taking care of their political careers. Kasi alam nila itong mga makabayan bloc, itong mga komunistang ito, may mga tao sila, marami rin sila, kaya nagkakaroon sila ng mga naipapasok sa Kongreso. Yun ang hinahabol, yung boto eh. Hinahabol to the detriment of the interest of the nation. Yun ang masama sa mga politiko. But President Duterte did not look at that. Sabi niya ngayon, ako, presidente na ako. Hindi na ako makikipagsayaw sa inyo. Talagang gagawin ko na ang dapat kong gawin para sa bansa natin na magkaroon na ito ng katapusan. Yun ang pinakamagaling, pinakamabuting nangyari ngayon sa administrasyong ito. Na tinuldukan na talaga na terorista talaga to sila. And they will be treated as such.
Alam nyo, Pastor, nakakaaliw dahil na-mention nyo kanina si Winston Churchill. Tapos may sinabi siya isang magandang linya dati, hindi ko makalimutan. Yung sabi niya, men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing happened. I think si President Duterte, hindi eh. Pag nakita niyang mali, period, di po ba?
Totoo yun. Totoo yun. Tulad ng his fight against corruption na sinabi niya, siya lang ang presidente na kapag sabing, I did not realize I will be fighting my own government. At hindi siya takot pangalanan, there are 9 police generals that are involved in drug trafficking. Sino bang presidente yung makapagsasabi niyan? Kundi talaga siya tumututok doon sa trabaho niya. Kung yung political career mo, ang inaalagaan mo, you never say those things. Hindi malalaman ng tao kung ano ka. O, nakikipagsayaw-sayaw ka lang, tapos utu-utuin mo lang yung mga tao. O, gagawa ako ng malaking mega prison, papasok ko kayo doon. It is easier said than done. Gawin mo nga yan tulad ng ginagawa ng Pangulo kung di ba makikita mo ang kalidad mo dyan.
Maglalagay na lang daw po ng maraming subdivision, Pastor, para po sa lahat po ng mga nakatira sa squatters.
Yang ganyang mga pangako, yan ang ating ingatan at bantayan. Kasi ipapangako nila sa inyo ang lahat ng bagay na yan, pagkatapos alam mo naman na hindi niya kayang gawin yun. That is insulting our intelligence. Pagka ganun ang tao na nangungusap. Kaya medyo ako, meron akong passion, nagagalit minsan yung puso ko sa mga taong ganyan eh. What I like about the President is really a Filipino on the level of the Filipino masses, and he is seeing how they live. And he wants to improve how they live sa kanyang kakayahan. Tignan mo yung nagawa niya, yung universal healthcare, yung tuition, yung free tuition, yung inangat niya yung ang sweldo ng sundalo, ng pulis, ng nurses, ng mga maestra. Yan ang mga nasa front line. Nakikita, yun ang inuna niya. Anuhin mo yung bibigyan ka ng bagong bahay kung makakaya mo man, pero wala naman trabaho yung tao. Pero kung inangat mo yung buhay niya, nagtatrabaho siya, inangat mo, he can afford a decent living, kaya hindi mo na siya dapat bigyan pa. Pag binigyan mo yan, tingnan mo yung nasa Manila, di ba, binigyan sila ng magandang bahay. Ano yung reklamo ng may bahay doon? Wala naman kaming trabaho. Wala naman kaming pambayad ng kuryente. Bakit kami naririto?
Pero Pastor, para sa iyo ang bahay na 'to. Maraming salamat po.
Kasi, syempre kasi nahihirapan yung, gaya na sinabi mo, Pastor, no? Hindi pwede suntok sa buwan ang magiging pangako nila. At the end of the day, hindi naman nila madedeliver yung mga pinapangako nila para sa taong bayan.
Si Pangulo nga, sabi niya, di ba, nung nasa Davao siya, nakita niya, kaya niya yung city na to end the drug problem here. Di ba sinabi niya na, kayong mga drogista, umalis na kayo dito kung gusto pa ninyo magkaroon ng peace ang buhay nyo. Bahala kayo kung saan kayo pumunta. Di ba nagkaroon ng peace? Pero nung siya naging presidente, akala niya masosolve niya in 6 months. Only to know the enormity of the problem is more than what he expected. More. Biro mo. Almost mga barangay captain, almost half, nasa drugs, drug trafficking, mga mayors. Hindi niya nakakahala yun. Kaya natulala siya. Ganito pala, kalala ito. Then very well, sa kanyang listahan, bago siya, first year in the presidency, 3.5 million ba yun, na mga kabataan ng drug addict na. Ganon kalala yun. Kaya nagpagawa ng mga resettlement o mga rehabilitation centers na para ma-rehabilitate sila. Pero it's so hard to rehabilitate someone whose mind or whose brain was already seared by the effects of the shabu. Pero ginagawa pa rin ng presidente ang ginagawa niya. Pagkatapos, papasok itong isang ito na magiging pangulo, halimbawa. Tapos, o-opera niya ng drug lords. Huwag mo kami pakialaman, basta bibigyan ka namin 1 billion, isang buwan, o 500 million. O, anong gagawin mo?
Totoo naman nga po.
Pastor,
Well,
anong magiging advice niyo dun sa opposition, Pastor, given po na mataas po yung trust and confidence ng taong bayan kay Pangulong Duterte?
Yun ang problema ng oposisyon ngayon because even though he's not president anymore, nagkaroon na tayo ng template as in the presidency like him, then they will be beholden, the Filipino people will be beholden to someone like Pangulong Duterte even he's out of office. These people will suffer comparison. They will always suffer the comparison if they will not really step up to the plate. Ika nga, if they will not really do their job like what this president is doing.
TP?
Yun ang expectation ng Filipino people ngayon eh. Kaya ang gusto nila, continuity.
Opo. Pastor, ano po, kung may final lang po sir, final question ko po. Kung may payo kayo para kay Pangulong Duterte, alam naman natin na kahit na home stretch na siya eh, mahirap na laban pa rin to yung susunod na 12 o 11 buwan. So ano po mapapayo niyo po kay Pangulong Duterte sa kanyang sa mga nalalabing panahon ng kanyang presidensiya?
Tulad ng sinabi niya, 'di ba, ipagpapatuloy ko pa rin up to the last day of my yung ipapasang mga bills na gusto niyang ipasa pa na gagawin pa. And this is the only president na in this home stretch, nakita natin talagang hindi siya lame duck. Nandun pa rin ang power, ang kanyang influence, at kinikilala pa rin siya ng buong Filipino nation bilang kanilang Pangulo hanggang sa katapusan ng kanyang araw. Siguro, even after sa katapusan ng kanyang pagiging presidente, kung ano man yung tatakbuhan pa niya sa susunod. Kailangan yung susunod na presidente talagang gagawa ng paraan, hindi lang mga pangako ang kanyang gagawin, kundi talagang pantayan o kaya talagang sobrahan pa ang nagawa ng ating Pangulo sa kanyang 6 na taon na binigay sa kanya ng taong bayan.
Pastor?
Alright. Salamat po, Pastor.
Pastor,
Ana?
si SAS and TP, kilala po silang great defenders ng administrasyon. Kayo po ba, Pastor, mabibigyan niyo po sila ng advice to continue their advocacy to the next president or next administration na papasok?
Kung merong susunod, sino
Yes.
si TP at saka si SAS?
Yes, itutuloy nila yung ginagawa nila as defender ng administration po.
Sino?
Si TP and SAS po, Pastor.
Oh, defender ba ako? Binabara ko nga.
Tanungin natin si TP and si SAS. Hindi na sila kailangan magsabi kung sino ang napupusuan nila na maging presidente, vice president. Tanungin natin sila kung ipagpapatuloy ba nila. Halimbawa, may naging pangulo na hindi natin inaasahan yung na naging pangulo. It depends upon SAS and TP kung susuportahan ba nila. Kasi itong programa nila magpapatuloy ito lalong lalalim ito eh. Kasi sa ratings ng ating stasyon, malaki ang malaki yung pananaw ng taong bayan sa inyo. Pinag-uusapan kayo eh.
Thinking
Ngayon,
Pinoy and statecraft.
Thinking Pinoy and SAS, statecraft. Ang ganda ng mga reviews na pumupunta sa akin. Yung programa, statecraft, tapos yung Thinking Pinoy. Ang ganda ng mga kasi influencer talaga kayo ngayon.
Yes.
Sa inyong
I think
salamat at
Pastor,
nandito kayo sa SMNI.
Maraming salamat.
salamat din sa opportunity. I think, Pastor, hindi naman yung tao yung dinidefend kundi yung polisiya Kung maayos yung
tama yan.
polisiya, supportahan. Kung hindi maayos yung polisiya, di questionin. Diba? Nagkataon lamang na marami talagang magandang polisiya si PRRD.
Yes, that's true. Ako ganun din sa ano, yung titingnan natin kung ano yung tatrabahuin nila. Ako kahit kaibigan ko si Pangulo, nung tinatanong ako nung una sa kanyang presidency, yun ang palagi ko sinasabi, bigyan natin siya ng pagkakataon na maging successful siya sa kanyang ipinangako. Pinangako niya yung drug problem, yung criminality, yung poverty, yung CPP, NPA, at saka yung corruption. Oh. So, after 3 years, nagsalita ako. Nakikita ninyo kung anong ginagawa ng ating Pangulo. Oh. Sa poverty, itong mga build niya. Oh. Ilang minutes na lang, ang ilang oras, makakapag-travel ka ng maluwang. Oh, mahahatid mo na yung ano mo. Laking tulong nun sa sambayanan para sa kanilang pag-aahon sa buhay. So, ganun din sa ano ko, yung tingin ko, yung sa policy tayo, yung kung anong gagawin nila, kung anong magagawa nila, doon tayo. We do not look at their words only. We look at what they can do because a man cannot be rewarded by his words but by his deeds. Doon tayo. Sans personality, kung sino man siya. Ihala.
Pastor, deal tayo. Tuloy ko lang yung TP na SMNA pero mag-aaral ako Gusto ko kasi mag-aaral din.
May 5 years course at 6 years course na sa JMC College of Law. Para 5 years, you only have to report there every Saturday and Sunday.
Oy.
Ipapadala lang sa iyo, module lang yun
Attorney TP, Attorney RJ.
At least hindi
Attorney
3 months
TP,
lang.
Attorney RJ
Hindi
niya.
3 months ha? Walang 3 months.
Hindi 3 months, Pastor.
Walang pausa na 3 months dito.
Salamat.
Pastor, how do you envision po si Pangulong Duterte as a, private citizen after his stint po sa pagkapangulo po?
He is such a guy that kung ano siya sa kanyang panahon dito, nakasama namin, ganoon din siya sa kanyang pagkapangulo. Tingnan niyo, sinabi niya kanina. Kunwari, naka-helicopter ka, tapos may mga gwardya ka. Yung pala langgo ka, hindi mo magawa yung gusto mong gawin. Ganon siya ka, tawag dito. Ganon siya ka-ordinaryo na tao. He's so charismatic that he doesn't even know that he's so powerful.
Yes.
All he knows is the service to the nation. To the Filipino in general and to the Filipino in particular kung may nakikita siya. Ganun siya ka-ordinary. Yung iba pagka naging presidente yan, yung pump and glory ang talagang makikita mong parang nakasukbit sa kanila ang nila yung parang gustong-gusto ba nila. Pero this president is not like that. That is what we like about him.
At marami kasi mga landmark bills si Pangulong Duterte na talagang makakatulong sa publiko. Like yung passport, Pastor, 10 years na yung validity. Hindi yung after ilang years, pabalik ka pa sa DFA. Ang haba-haba pa naman ng pila, Pastor, di ba? Especially dun sa mga OFW natin, very thankful sila dun sa mga ginagawa ni Pangulong Duterte.
Alam mo, nung nagkakampanya pa si Hana, napag-usapan na namin ni Pangulo yan. Dapat itaas yung years ng passport, pati yung driver's license. Kasi nakikita nga niya yung kuminsan na dadaanan, punta ka ng LTO, ang mga tao naka-line up, nasa mainit, naka na lang ng notebook dito sa ulo dahil matagal lang nakapila doon. So, nabanggit niya na kung papalarin siya na maging presidente, he will change all of this. At salamat at ngayon lang nangyari yan. Pero mo, 10 years ang driver's license, 10 years ang passport. That's really a landmark when it comes to the comfort of the people. Na hindi ka na, biro mo, hindi ka na maglilinya doon every 3 years or every 2 years para lang kumuha ng ganon.
Alright. Pastor, last question na po, Pastor. Ano po yung mensahe niyo sa publiko, Pastor, ano? Sa ngayon na tapos na yung termino ni Pangulong Duterte, how can they help this the administration of President Duterte sa last stretch, no? Of course, dun sa ating mga kababayan na medyo hindi pa rin tuwid yung paningin nila sa ginagawa ng Pangulong Duterte, pero kitang-kita naman yung ebidensya, Pastor, sa resulta ng kanyang trabaho.
Ang pinapakita ng ating Pangulo ngayon na ina-articulate ko dito is that he unraveled the political mindset of the Filipinos for partisan politics. Na-erase yung partisan politics na ganun. Na makikita mo talaga kung magiging leader ka is the interest of the Filipino nation and the Filipino people in general. Yun ang gusto ko ma-enlighten ang Pilipino na yun ang tingnan nila ngayon. Kahit sabihin magdilawan ka, DDS ka, kung ano ka dyan, may kampi-kampi yan eh. Pero pagdating na doon sa pamamahala, nakita natin walang DDS sa kanya, walang dilawan sa kanya, basta nandiyan ka, ewan ko kung dilawan ka o DDS ka, trabahuin mo yung trabaho mo. Pag di mo tinrabaho yan, nag-corrupt ka dyan, pitikin kita. Kahit sino ka pa, kahit kaibigan pa kita, kahit sumuporta ka pa, kahit DDS ka pa. Pero kahit dilawan ka, bahala ka na, basta tinatrabaho mo yung trabaho mo. So it's management by result ang kanyang pamamahala. Parang meritocracy, if you can say it, you know. By the merit of what you are doing, you stay there. Whoever you are, kahit ano pa yung sentimento mo sa politika. Basta tinatrabaho mo yung trabaho mo, may resulta ka. At merong output ka para sa ikabubuti ng ating bansa. In your own way, na tinatrabaho mo yung trabaho mo. Alam mo, department head ka, andyan ka, tulad kay Tugade, tulad kay Villar. Yung mga yan, sila si Mato, sa DNR, kita mo yung output nila, yung trabaho nila. Hindi mo napapansin ang kataga-DNR ito yung Pangulo dito, ito si Villar, ganon, o Tugade sa transportation. Yung position nila, it boils down to what they can do. Not what they offer as, position lang ang nakikita mo. Output talaga ang hinahanap natin. Sino ka man. Kaya, biro mo, more than 90 ang pinitik niyang appointees niya mismo. Kasi they are not up to the job. That is how a president should be.
Alright.
Ganon, dapat ang pananaw ng isang Pangulo. Kaya tayong mga Pilipino, ganon din ang dapat maging pananaw natin mula ngayon. Ang nakakasira sa atin is the partisan politics. Maliman siya o hindi, basta kakampi natin, larga.
Totoo yun.
Hindi pwede na yun ngayon.
Alright. Pastor, thank you very much for your time and
Thank
for
you.
sharing us, Pastor, no, kung ano yung assessment niyo.
Kay mga officers ng Senado, dito sa Kamara, nag-elect ng speaker, saka majority floor leader, saka minority leader. So, ayan, sa umaga yan. Sa hapon, ito na yung SONA, darating ang Pangulo. Normally, naka-helicopter yan sa likod, naka-landing. Tapos papasok yan sa PLLO, Presidential Legislative Liaison Office. Maghihintay yan doon. Tapos ang mga senadores naman ng kongresista will form a party, pupunta sila sa likod ng kamaran, sa PLLO at sunduin nila ang Pangulo. I-escort nila papasok dyan po sa session hall. Dito sila dumadaan sa harapan. Habang naglalakad sa main corridor ang Pangulo, ang mga kongresista at mga senadores nakalinya doon sa main corridor. Yan po mangyari. Aakyat ang Pangulo doon sa rostrum, kasama niya sa kabila, Senate President, sa kabila naman, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Si TP, matagal-tagal na rin nag-cover ng di ba? Ng ating SONA. No? Ano bang napapansin mo every SONA nagiging exciting ba? lalo na si Pangulong Duterte kasi alam mo naman, ang daming mga challenges din during sa kanyang administration.
Well, honestly, mas masaya mag-cover ng SONA pag wala sa batasan. Kasi pag nasa batasan, kasi puro beso-beso doon. Hindi ka makapag-focus doon sa mismo pinasasabi ng presidente kasi ang nakapaligid sa'yo, puro mga dignitaries, halo-halo na yan, dignitaries, anak ng dignitaries, mga matitindi pangarap, halo-halo na yan. So mas maganda ngayon ganito, na remote para makapag-focus tayo sa kung ano man sasabihin ni Pangulong Duterte. Doon po sa mga nanonood po ngayon, isang taon na lang po, bababa na po si Pangulong Duterte sa Malacanang. At it will happen about 3 weeks before the next SONA. So ito na yung ito na yung pinakahuling SONA ni Pangulong Duterte, guys. Nakakalimang taon na pala. Akala ko sabi ko nga kanina sa TPO na SMNA Admar, di ba? Naaaliw ako na umabot siya ng 5 years.
Oo nga.
Alam mo naman, ang tirada sa kanya kaliwat kanan. Pero nag-survive at in my opinion, ay nag-flourish dahil tama yung sabi ni Secretary Harry Roque doon sa isa sa mga interview niya na nananatiling mataas o approval rating ni Pangulong Duterte kasi kahit hindi man niya natupad lahat ng pangako niya, yung karamihan natupad. And I think for a nation na sanay nang dumadaan at lumilipas lang ang mga administrasyon, this is more than we can actually hope for. Alam mo, it's more than what we could reasonably hope for. Ayun.
Kay Sas naman, kasi kahit na nasa Netherlands ka, nakatuto ka rin sa mga kaganapan dito sa Pilipinas. Ano sa tingin mo yung parang medyo talagang doon nahirapan ng ating government, no, sa pag-handle nito kasi samot-sari na yung mga problema na hindi inaasahan, di ba? Kasi nung pagtakbunan sa halalan, yung existing na problema, hindi mo alam kung ano pang possible na magiging problema pag nandun na sa Pero ano sa tingin mo yung medyo doon talaga na challenge yung kasalukuyang administrasyon?
I think ang pinaka na challenge ang present government is yung drug war. Kahit naman si President Duterte aminado na it was a very difficult battle. 'Di ba? Kasi yan ang isa sa mga isa sa mga pangako niya talaga. 'Di ba na tatapusin daw niya yung problema na yan. Pero sabi nga is iba yung si President Duterte as a presidential candidate and President Duterte as president. Kasi as president, doon ka na mas makikita mo yung buong extent ng problema. At kung natatandaan ninyo, 'di ba, noong una siyang nung mga first few months ng kanyang administration, yung ginigising tayo tuwing madaling araw para mag-announce si President Duterte ng listahan ng mga
drug lords,
police, generals, judges, and politicians na implicated sa shabu trade sa bansa. And nakita naman natin yung extent noon. At talaga nakaka-challenge ito kasi kung tinodo ito ni PRRD, I think I have heard him say before na baka wala na tayong gobyerno. So talaga ito yung pinaka na-challenge siya and hindi rin siguro na-anticipate masyado yung matinding backlash, resistance against it, not just from the human rights group, but of course also from the drug trade itself. 'Di ba? Kasi syempre if that's business. Kung puputulin mo yung business nila, lalaban talaga 'yan. So, 'di ba, ang gulo-gulo nung panahon na 'yon nung sinimulan yung war on drugs, and that's the time na we were also exposed to how well entrenched itong shabu trade sa bansa. Pero as we can see naman sa figures, nagkaroon naman ng improvement, and based na rin sa perception ng mga tao,
we still have more caution than those developed countries have.
Okay. Attorney?
Well, good afternoon, Madam President. Merong bagong Pulse Asia survey, lumabas po ito sa Manila Bulletin today. Gusto marinig ng mga tao yung livelihood and economy. So, economy talagang gusto marinig sa sona ng Pangulo.
Ay,
Meron ba
naku,
kayong,
Rolex. I'm sure you want me to, given our political history together, I'm sure you want to ask me a question where I will make the wrong answer. So, I have not seen the survey myself, so I cannot comment.
Okay, ma'am.
Madam President, na-mention niyo na rin po yung latest po na announcement po kasi ng mga credit rating agencies, di ba, na binigyan tayo ng negative outlook. Hindi pa naman nila tayo dina-downgrade, pero may warning na umayos kayo, di po ba?
At saka negative outlook on some banks.
Mas malala.
On some players in the banking sector.
Okay.
It's not on the economy per se. Kaya nga binanggit ko na from the beginning of my assessment na tinignan natin yung banking sector. Let us look at that warning, but let us be rational and not panic about that warning kasi warning pa lang, early warning yun.
Okay.
Early warning. We are not in the woods. So
Okay.
it's an early warning.
Okay. Madam President.
Ma'am, ito po. Yes,
Sige.
sorry.
Meron ka pa, TP?
Last question lang po, Madam
Sige.
President. Minsan lang ito makausap eh. So ano po, ma'am? Yun pong United States po kasi, ma'am, ang isa sa mga pinakamalaki nilang response sa COVID-19 pandemic parang unprecedented na quantitative easing, di ba? Sobrang tumaas nga yung kanilang money supply to the point na sinakdown na nila iba nilang indicator para lang hindi na mabalita. So, ngayon po, ng Pilipinas naman po, medyo malayo pa naman po tayo doon. Pero sa palagay niyo ba, ma'am, applicable sa atin ang some sort of quantitative easing din para po ma-jumpstart yung ekonomiya natin na medyo kabado po ngayon dahil sa pandemya?
Alam mo, I've always been saying, the response of there are already classical orthodox responses to a recession, whether it is coming or whether it is there. We have the classical tools at our disposal, hindi na kailangan mag-invento. And I used it in order to avoid the global crisis of 2008, and the economic managers of the president are using it now. So they are on the right track. Kaya sabi ko, the important thing is to maintain our fundamental fiscal strength and watch out for the warning signs on our financial sector.
Okay.
Pero fundamentally, they're doing the right thing.
Okay.
Alright.
Madam,
Salamat po, ma'am.
Madam President, hingi na lang po siguro kami ng last message para sa ating mga kababayan ngayong hapon po.
Well, okay. Maybe I can, I mean, just, I said it earlier in another interview. President Duterte is the president with the highest approval rating ever in our history. Why is he so popular? First, I think he is perceived by mainstream Filipinos as a genuine person who says what he really thinks and not what he calculates to be politically correct. He acts like them, speaks like them, and like everybody else, he may have his own flaws, but at least he does not pretend. Pangalawa, yung kanyang peace and order campaign. Ito ay talagang gustong-gusto ng taong bayan. Meron siguro mga nandoon sa Western world na nag-aatake sa kanya.
Okay.
Pero anecdotally, sa nakakausap ng mga pang-araw-araw na Pilipino, living. And yun ang importante sa mainstream Filipino, hindi yung sinasabi ng senador galing sa Amerika or politician galing sa Western Europe. And then third, when all is said and done, anecdotally, maraming Pilipino talagang naniniwala, napakaraming Pilipino naniniwala na tama naman ang ginagawa ni Presidente Duterte. He's doing an acceptable job in the very difficult task of addressing the pandemic. Tingnan mo yung ihambing natin ang ating bansa sa ibang bansa. Halimbawa, mas mataas ang COVID sa Indonesia. Tapos noon yung ibang mga and if you compare, for instance, lalo na when you talk about yung COVID cases per 100,000 Filipinos, 100,000 people, we're in the second lower half of the COVID incidence.
Okay.
So we are really not doing a bad job. And that is why in the survey, the Filipinos are saying that they think that the government is doing an acceptable job.
Okay, Madam President, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at panahon ngayong hapon at ingat po kayo palagi, Madam President.
Okay, thank you.
Maraming salamat si dating Pangulo Gloria Macapagal sa Sasot and former Congressman Attorney Rolex Suplico. Madam, magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon naman sa inyo lahat.
Ayan. Okay, Sas?
Hello, Madam President. Kamusta po kayo?
Hi, how are you, Sas?
Mabuti po ako. Ma'am, ang una ko pong tanong sa inyo, during your administration, malakas yung panawagan ninyo for a strong republic. At actually, ang meron dito akong quote na sinabi nyo. Sabi nyo, the ship of the Philippine state must be robust and resilient enough to unfurl its sails to ride those winds rather than fumbling under their force. Ngayon po, ma'am, sa tingin nyo po ba, nasaan tayo in terms of being a strong republic?
Well, we certainly have a strong president. So yun ang isang masasabi nating katangian ngayon. Kasi nung panahon nung pinag-usapan ko yung strong republic, tignan natin ang konteksto, no? Sinabi ko yun sa akin sona noong 2002. September 2001, nangyari yung 9/11. So the world was fighting terrorism at that time. Tapos, domestically, we were having our own Abu Sayyaf problems. We were having, I came in, there was an ongoing problem of kidnapping. There was an ongoing problem of drugs. So, noong 2001, pumasok ako bilang Pangulo, ekonomista. Ang iniisip ko na dapat ayusin ang ekonomiya kasi malaki ang ating debt to GDP ratio. Pero nung nagkaroon ng Dos Palmas, it really dawned on me that you cannot compartmentalize your country according to what you studied. But there is that context. Things will happen to the country that you may not have foreseen. And then, worse when it was 9/11. So in 2022, my theme of my State of the Nation address was a strong republic. Because in 2009, my theme was the economy. But we had to make our country a strong republic. And so we had to address terrorism, we had to address drugs, we had to address crime. And certainly now, the president we have, eksperto siya sa ganung mga bagay.
Alright. Madam President, binabasa ko po kasi yung listahan po ng mga projects po ninyo nung kayo pa presidente. Tapos i-compare ko naman po sa projects po ng Duterte administration. Sa inyo pong palagay, kasi po binasa ko po, dami rin nyo rin napatayo ng panahon ninyo. Paano po ba nag-build doon sa gains po, doon sa mga pinagawa ninyo? Paano po in-upgrade ng Pangulong Duterte, ng Duterte administration, yung ating national infrastructure mula po doon sa natapos ng inyong administrasyon?
Nung panahon ko, ang pinakamalaking sagabal para gumawa ng infrastruktura ay yung napakababa ng ating revenue. Ang ating tax to GDP ratio was very low. At ang ating tax revenues pumupunta lamang halos sa mga sweldo at saka sa maintenance and operating expenses ng gobyerno. Every time, at ito ang naman akong situation, every time gusto natin mag-infrastructure, hihiram tayo. So, ang unang hakbang ay sana mag-graduate tayo sa ganong klaseng situation. Sana pwede tayong magpondo ng ating sariling infrastruktura sa ating sariling buwis. Mababang ating tax to GDP ratio noong panahon ko compared to other countries. So that was the very first step. Hindi lang yun. Darating ang panahon sa projection na pati interest payments natin manggagaling na sa utang. Pag nagbabayad, umuutang ka para magbayad lang ng interest, talagang pangprote na yung bansa. So we had to bite the bullet and do something very unpopular. We had to drastically increase our taxes. At yun ang nangyari, yun ang IVAT. And I finally got my IVAT, I finally got my tax reform in 2005. So it was only after that that we could, with caution and confidence, begin our massive infrastructure program. Salamat naman sa Panginoon, tuloy-tuloy din yun, and I must give credit to not only my administration's economic managers, but also the next one, Noynoy's economic managers and President Duterte's economic managers, because they continued that kind of management of the economy. Kaya ngayon, pati yung COVID na bibigyan ng pansin na may cushion pa rin ang ating bansa. So the President is able to continue his build, at the same time na-asikaso pa niya yung COVID. Dahil sa magagandang reforma up to today kasi meron siyang train, meron siyang create.
Alright. Madam President, sa palagay ko po, nung panahon po na presidente pa kayo from 2004 to 2010, matindi nga talaga yung mga economic challenges, no? Lalo tumama pa kayo nun sa yung global financial crisis noong 2007-2008, di ba? Ngayon po, inaharap din tayo na isa pang matindi pang economic crisis, yung bunsod po ng COVID-19 pandemic. Sa inyo pong palagay, ano po ba yung maipapayo nyo sa Duterte administration pagdating po sa pagja-jumpstart po rin ng economy natin at magkakaroon po na isa ekonomiya sa ilalim po ng new normal?
Napaka-importante na tuloy pa rin ang ating saligang kalakasan ng ating kabanang bansa. At yun ay ginagawa naman ng economic managers ni Pangulong Duterte. So tamang ginagawa niya, we have cushion. Kasi mula nga noong 2005, talagang pinalakas natin ang tax revenues natin, nabayaran natin yung mga utang before they were due, and now we have so much cushion. And but of course, dahil may world economic crisis, kailangan din bantayan natin yung ating banking sector, yung fiscal sector, I think it's going very well. Yung financial sector natin, tignan natin yung mga little warning signs happening. Kasi Fitch cut its outlook on some banks from stable. Pero pa lang, outlook pa lang yun, warning pa lang yun. Kaya huwag tayo mag-overreact, pero asikasuhin natin yung warning, yung pre-warning na nagsimula doon. Pero kung titigan mo yung ating